I hate Smurfs. I think we all do.
Okay,
There's just so many different type of Smurfs. You just don't
that's
know what
true.
you're gonna get when you see that default Overwatch picture. Or you can get like a one trick that's doing a bronze to top 500.
Okay, no one really does bronze to top 500 because of what it takes too long. People do unranked to GM, and that takes like 4 hours. They play basically in Masters, and when they're in Masters, they get GM games anyway. So, I, I've yet to see anyone do bronze to top 500. But if people are doing it, then like all the power to them, right? Because obviously it's making them money. So I'm fine with it.
And this is mostly for like other Overwatch content creators. I just feel like that's such a cringe thing to do on a burner account when
I think it's fine. I personally, I have no problem with it. Listen, I can understand the sentiment of why people complain about the smurfing. However, I don't. I have a different mindset when it comes to smurfing, and therefore it would be hypocritical of me to say smurfing is bad and yet also have no problem with it. So, like when I play against Smurfs in other games, it's completely fine to me. It doesn't bother me at all. If anything, I'm actually happy to play against Smurfs because I have a very kind of heavy learning mentality of whenever I see someone that's good at the game, I'm very observant of why they're good at the game. I check how they peak things, how they move, why they're doing things. I psychoanalyze it. And that's just for me personally because I like getting better at things. But if you're just like a plat player and you don't really care about the game and you just want to sit down and play, I get why people like smurfing your lobby is annoying.
it's just a weird ass thing to do. Stick to making content on your main. I just don't even find bronze to like
Stick to making content on your main. Alright, I'm going to give you like 5 reasons quickly why that's not possible. Firstly, queue times. Queue times are absolutely abhorrent, especially in EU where I am. And 90% of the time, you're waiting upwards of 40 minutes for a game in top 500. And that is really bad, obviously. Like, I don't want to be sitting in a game for 40 minutes, but it gets a lot worse than that. But firstly, like, you need to remember, right? It's literally some people's livelihoods to play this game. And waiting 40 minutes in a queue is not a very good way to survive if this is your job. Secondly, for the queue times thing, why is it that I would want to sit in a 40-minute queue anyway? Especially for the reasons I'm about to mention. But just think about it for 1 second. Imagine you load up Overwatch. You want to play some Overwatch. You queue at top 500. You sit in a queue for, I shit you not, literally 45 minutes. You get in a game, and that game is completely coin flipped by the fact that they have a Widowmaker player and you don't. Why? Why would you ever waste your fucking time? What is the point? So that's the first point why people smurf. The queue times are fucking ridiculous at high rank. It's really bad. The next problem is meta. The meta at high rank, generally speaking, gets set in stone very quickly. A couple of days into a season, people are playing hard meta. And if you're not playing hard meta, you're throwing. So here's what happens. Let's say because it's Mauga meta right now. Let's say you're a Zarya player in Mauga meta. Get ready for all 4 of your teammates to be bitching, complaining, crying, reporting you all game, every game, you wait 45 minutes to get into a game, you get into it, you don't want to play the meta hero, you get flamed all game, bitched and complained about all game, and you don't get to have any fun because the enemy team will full counterpick you, they will run full meta characters, and you fucking lose. You cannot play the character you want. Unless you're like a top 10 player on your hero, unless you're like obscenely good at the game and you can just play everything and you can get top 10 on any character, like you just can't do it. Even like top 300 players aren't locking Reinhardt against 5-man counter picks in top 500. You just get your ass pounded. Unless you're like Cloudy or fucking Coco or someone like that on locking Ryan, you just fucking lose. You're just not going to be good enough to overcome a top 500 Orisa player that's just full countering you. You just lose the game if you do that. So you sit in a queue for 45 minutes, you're not allowed to play the hero you want, and if you do play the hero you want, you're almost guaranteed that you lose and people complain about you all game. The next problem is the volatility, which is losing at the spawn door. I can't even count the amount of times today I have queued into a top 500 game and immediately lost the game at the spawn door. Because, for example, you queue up, you see this on the enemy team, bunch of well-known players, you know who they all are, very good, and you see that on your team. A bunch of Masters players, they're all bad. You don't know their names, don't know who they are, and you're a bunch of no-name players, which is fine. It's just the queue time, it's just the matchmaker being dog shit. But you set a 45-minute game to play in a full meta lobby with a full Masters team against a champ stack. What do you do? what do you do? What do you do? You just lose the game. You lose at the spawn door. Completely out of your control. There is nothing you can do. Absolutely nothing. You now have to sit in this game for 15 minutes and endure the most dog shit meta imaginable while you guarantee a loss because you unfortunately didn't get a Widowmaker player and they did. So you lose the game. Awful. Awful. It's a waste of fucking time. The next problem, outside of volatility, is that no one even takes it seriously anyway. If you get a well-known player or someone that's been top 500 for years, or you know, whatever it may be, the average top 500 game probably has 3 players in it that just don't give a shit. They're not trying, they don't care, because they don't need to care. They've been top 500 for 8 years. I'm guilty of this. I don't care either. Sometimes I just want to lock Genji and spawn camp the enemy Mercy, because it's funny. I don't care that I'm losing. I don't give a shit. I've been rank 1 all roles. I've been top 500 for 8 years. I've one-tricked every hero to top 500 outside of, like, Weaver and Mercy. There's just no incentive for me to try anymore. There's no incentive. And that is another problem. That since there's no comms, there's also no incentive. And another reason there's no incentive is there's no SR number anymore. Before you were grinding, oh, I'm going to be 4,700. I'm going to hit 4,800 this season. I'm going to hit 4,750 this season. There's none of that. There's no, oh, I'm 4 SR away from rank 1. I'm grinding. I'm going to try and beat him. Then you queue up into him that game. You're like, oh, you're both fighting for rank 1. That doesn't happen anymore. It's because there's no SR. There's nothing to grind for. You see GM1 28%. You win the game. You get expected, and you gain 12%. Who gives a fuck? No one cares. The leaderboard is meaningless now. No one cares about. There's no point grinding it. There's a reason that up until the very end of Overwatch 1, people were still grinding. People were still grinding SR. People were still calming and taking it seriously. Not everyone, but a lot of people were. Now in Overwatch 2. With a much healthier player base, no one gives a fuck at all. Because there's no need to. There's nothing to grind for. There's no incentive. No one takes it seriously. No one's calming because there's no incentive. The volatility of the matchmaking, where if you can lose at the spawn door, like 70% of your games, you just lose instantly as soon as you queue into them. The meta is always boring and dog shit. There's no player agency. There's no solo carry potential. You never get to play the character you want to play. You never get to have any fun. You have to play hard meta, and if you don't, you get flamed all day. And to top it all off, you have to wait 40 fucking minutes to get into that experience in the first place. So yeah, I smurf. Absolutely, because I like to play the game sometimes. And even when I do smurf, all the enemy team have to do is, if I'm on Genji, they go Sombra, Ana, Juno, Brig, Diva, shit like that. And they just look at me all game, and I lose, because there's no player agency in the lower ranks either, outside of just hoping your team win the game. It's insanely boring at every rank in the game, but especially the higher ranks. If you were running into players in, like, Plat and getting your ass blasted and going, yeah, that's fucking boring, just imagine when I queue into an Overwatch League Widowmaker player that actually wants to win the game. You just lose. You just lose. There's no point even trying. You just lose.
Top 500 challenges, like, I don't even find them interesting to watch. I don't know, maybe
a lot of people do.
Because, for instance, if they're doing it on a certain character like Ashe or something, and the other team is running dive, and if they were on their main account, they would 100% swap if they're getting fucked on.
It's just not even remotely true. Ashe is such an obscenely broken character right now. Like, for example, Widow and Ashe are so broken that they were getting picked into dive. Like, if the enemy team was playing dive, they were picking Widow and Ashe to remedy it. Because as soon as they initiate dive, you just kill the enemy support that's got no front line in front of them anymore. And there's nothing they can do. Because they can't hold an angle and trying to support their team, because if they do, the Widow just blows their head off. So, if anything, if they pick dive, you're actually better off going Ashe and Widow.
But because they're on this smurf, and it doesn't matter if they win or lose, they're just trying to farm clips or good plays, they just stay on Ashe. You know what I'm saying? I just feel like that's fucked up to everybody else.
Likely would have stayed on Ashe anyway, but I understand the point.
In the lobby, because most of the people in the lobby are probably on their main accounts. You know what I'm saying? Also, like, I wanted to talk about smurfs that are practicing new heroes. So, like, maybe they main, I don't know, Lucio. Like, they have like 5,000 hours on Lucio, and they decide, oh, I want to play like DPS or something. Instead of doing that on their account, they get on a smurf account and go practice a DPS.
Okay. The reason they do this is because back in Overwatch 1, prior to roll queue, if you were a 4500 Lucio player, at the release of roll queue, it thought you were 4500 on all of your rolls. Meaning that if you queue up DPS today, on that account, you will be in a 4500 lobby. Because there's no MMR decay. You are still a 4500 DPS if you had never even played DPS, if you had played the game prior to roll queue. That is why people get on Smurf accounts. Because they don't want to queue up into a top 500 game on a role they've never played, on a character they've never played, and just insta-throw a top 500 lobby. They don't. So that's why they get on a Smurf. It's not because they want to beat the shit out of players. It's because they don't want to just spend the next 15 hours getting their shit rocked in top 500 to D-rank to plat to then actually be able to play the game.
Is just like for me, I feel like Overwatch ranks, as you climb up, you can't get away with certain shit that you got away with in lower ranks. And they're in there like just talking a bunch of shit to other people like, dude, I smurfed your peak. I smurfed your peak. First of all, why don't you get back on your main account? Because you're probably here because you're on your main getting absolutely shitted on. Now,
it's just, people use that excuse all the time for things like, yeah, man, you smurf because you can't handle it on your main, which is just, like, I'm sorry to say, that's actually just brain dead. If they couldn't handle it on their main, they wouldn't be that rank in the first place. People just like to project their negative emotions onto people. I get it, man. Like, I'd be tilted too if I was like these people. I get it. I completely understand. But the argument then, the reason you don't play on your main is because you're bad is just not an argument. To everyone smurfing, when they hear that, they think it's hilarious. Because they're like, this guy's clearly got no fucking idea what's going on. So, I mean, you can say whatever you want, but I would not say that's a valid reason.
Now let's talk about one tricks. We all know those people.
Oh, see, I've been a one trick as well. I've one tricked on every role. And I've been a top 500 one trick. I one tricked Genji for years in top 500 and people hated me for it. So, I think I can talk about this part as well.
Load into the match and they insta lock a character and you know they're not swapping no matter what happens for the rest of the game.
Which is completely fine.
I just feel like you're putting your team at a major disadvantage.
Okay. I mean, sure, maybe. That's still fine.
There's people that one trick tank, which is god awful, and there's people that one trick DPS and support. But as
I mean, yeah, sure.
Player, I do want to focus on people that one trick in the support role. We all know those support players that one trick Mercy or Moira.
I absolutely despise both of those characters, and yet I still think that is completely fine.
No matter what, and those are great heroes, but sometimes you
They're not great heroes. They're actually not very good.
have to switch.
I would say that's not true. I would say there are reasons to swap, and there are definitely moments that you could technically say you have to swap, but you technically don't have to. Like, if you are good enough, you can win on basically any character, but the reason you do win is because you're putting yourself in a position that allows yourself to get carried in a lot of cases. Like, if you're a Genji and you get 5 counter picks and they're perma-focusing you, but you're staying alive through the focus, you're carrying by eating resources and not doing anything else. You kind of have to hope that your team capitalizes on that, and if they don't, then you lose. And the team might go, yeah, we lost because we have the Genji not doing anything, but in the reality, the Genji's actually doing a lot, forcing those resources and staying alive, and your team's not capitalizing on it. So people don't really understand what's going on, so I think one tricking is fine. You technically can win, but if your team don't carry you through the fact that you enabled them to do so, then it's obviously, you're going to get blamed even if it's not your fault.
Like, if the enemy team has a Pharah and she's in the sky just doing a bunch of damage, yes, we can use a hit scan, but also if you're playing Moira and you're just...
Why don't you go BAP? Like, if you're going to complain about this, why don't you just go BAP? Right? Like, I get it. I understand the argument of, I want to play my character, I think they should swap. But, like, realistically, if the enemy team is a Pharah and you're on Ana or BAP or Ilaria or something and you're not dealing with the Pharah by yourself, well, then you probably likely should lose in the first place, because Pharah is really not that difficult to deal with on support at all. You don't even need to be on a character like Ana or BAP or something like that to kill a Pharah. You can really kill a Pharah on most of the supports.
Just getting absolutely wrecked by this Pharah or Echo, maybe changing to Ana or Baptiste or...
Yeah, but you could do that. Couldn't you also do that? If you're the player that's complaining about people one-tricking, which is a valid thing to complain about, you can complain about whatever you want, but if you're going to be the one complaining about the one-tricking, why don't you swap? And if you do swap and you're still not winning, then you weren't good enough to win in the first place.
Even Ilari can help change the tide of the game. I never understand just playing this weird blame game when maybe, yes.
Isn't that exactly what you just did when you complained about your other support not counterpicking the Pharah when that's what you could do?
Your DPS is on Soldier and he's trying to kill the Pharah, but Pharah is just getting pocketed. Maybe it can help if you change to like Baptiste or Ilari. You can.
Can't you also do that? Maybe I'm being dumb and she's implying that she's already done that. But then I would also argue that if you then lose that game, technically speaking, if you're doing all you can and you lose, well then that's unlucky. But if the reason you lost is you went BAP and they went Pharah and you couldn't lock down Pharah, then you deserve to lose, right?
Help burst down the Pharah with him. Your DPS or your tank or just everyone on the game is not always going to be the A team that you want. It's just...
Yeah. That's okay.
It's not like that, especially if you're solo queuing. And that just brings me on to my next section, which is comms.
Oh, I fully agree with this. I probably get I probably get maybe one person that speaks every 10 games that I play, especially in high rank. It's really bad. Because 90% of high rank is Balkans arguing, Arabs speaking in Arabic, or silence.
I'm not saying that you have to talk on the mic. As someone that has social anxiety, I don't always use my mic in games, but Overwatch has a ping system, and I feel like...
To be fair, the ping system is fucking dog shit. It's really bad. A lot of people praise it because it's obviously better than nothing, and I agree it's better than nothing, but it's really bad. It's really terrible at conveying any information. It's clunky and slow, and it's difficult to use. It fucking sucks, dude. Their ping system is bad, to be fair.
I'll run into games where nobody pings anything that they do. Like, everyone just... Like, you can't expect everyone to know what you're thinking and play off of that. Yes, it's nice when games like that do happen and everyone has, like, game sense and they're aware, but just jumping in, like if we're running Winston and we're running dive, and you're not even trying to tell us what it is that you're diving, you're just trying to go one.
I would also then argue that if you're at the rank where you don't just already know by default what should be happening, then it's also irrelevant, right? Because if you don't already automatically know what he should be doing, then you probably also don't know what you should be doing. So at that point, I don't even think it matters.
If you want it, you're not gonna...
Sure, it's helpful, but I don't think it's important.
You're just not gonna win.
I disagree with that. I think you can absolutely... Like, think of how many... I mean, come into my Discord. Like, this is no flame, right? You can come into my Discord whenever you want and watch me queue top 500 lobbies in complete silence and go off by myself and just do shit on my own and be completely fine and carry the game. Like, it's fine. You're free to join my Discord and watch.
And then another side of comms is when the game is about to be over and everyone just has their own little vent session. Those are hilarious. But
oh yeah, where people start complaining and arguing with each other. I think that's hilarious. I'm actually fully in support of people doing that because I think it's hilarious.
Those just don't help the team.
Yeah, but it's funny. It's funny. I actually incentivize the people do this because I think it's funny.
You know what I'm saying? Like, just getting on the mic and the first thing out your mouth is something negative about other people on the team.
It's a video game, dude. It's a competitive video game. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like, me personally, like, obviously people are going to disagree with me and that's fine. I'm completely fine with that. I see no issue with it. I get why people might be upset about it. I personally, I'm completely okay with it.
Team and pointing fingers and saying support diff.
Yeah, but that might be true, though. That might be true. Like, look in high-ranked lobbies, it's not uncommon to queue into a game, to have one person on your team you don't recognize and just go, we probably lost because of this guy. And then within the first 30 seconds of the game, just know for a fact that guy is dog shit, and he's terrible. And listen, maybe some people will say you shouldn't tell him, you shouldn't talk to him like that. That's fine. It's a competitive video game.
That does not help the team, especially if you're only halfway through the game. Like, the first round is...
I think it's still fine. Genuinely, I think flaming over mic is hilarious. I'm okay with it.
It's over. Maybe you guys got steamrolled and you're just like, yeah, GG's. I don't...
I mean, dude, if my teammate's 3-9 in fucking 5 minutes, then yeah, I'm gonna flame him. Like, the game is lost, dude. I'm not gonna flame a guy who's like fucking 12-8 in 10 minutes, right? Because at least he's trying. If he's 3-9 in 5 minutes, I'm flaming him. Like, because it's funny.
Oh, like there's a whole nother half. I've played a ton of games like that where we've gotten absolutely steamrolled and we made changes and then we ended up winning that game. People don't even want to give it a chance. They're just
Yeah, I agree. No one cares.
like, yeah, GG's, because I got...
It's the same in high rank. Like, if you get... Like, you can queue up and have a player on your team and go AFK. It's not uncommon to queue into a game for two players to recognize each other, they don't like each other, and they both just throw the game. That's so common. Maybe I'm desensitized to it because I've experienced it for like 8 years of people doing that. But genuinely, it's probably like 1 in 5 games is a guy that just hates someone on the team and they just throw the game. And it's funny, like, I don't care, but like, I get why people might care.
Steamrolled the first point. Well, maybe you got steamrolled because you refused to swap off of Doomfist. Maybe you got steamrolled because we refused to make any type of adjustment.
Yeah, but that's fine, but why does that Doomfist have to swap? Like, why is it I understand the point of the game. It's a team-based game where you're meant to work together, but maybe he just wants to play Doomfist. What's wrong with him just wanting to play Doomfist? It's not his fault that they picked a goofy character like Sombra. Right? It's not his fault he's getting counterpicked. It's not his fault he might not know the tech that he needs to know to do something. It's not his fault. Like, he wants to play Doomfist because he wants to get better at Doomfist. And the reason he wants to get better at Doomfist is because he likes playing Doomfist and he wants to get good at Doomfist. The argument of he shouldn't play Doomfist because we're going to lose is fucking pointless. Because eventually he'll get so good at Doomfist because he kept playing him that he'll outrank you and you'll never see him again because he's off getting better at the fucking game instead of just trying to win. The players who one-trick are likely playing to get better, while the players who counter-swap and stuff are playing to win, not to get better. And the people who play to get better massively tend to outrank the people who play to win, because playing to win is not a consistent strategy in improving, yet playing to improve will always net you benefits in the long run, even if you are losing games. So technically speaking, the people who one-trick are infinitely more likely to get a higher rank than you, if you counter-pick. Because they just tend to get better at the game.
Even though they're running dive and we have double hit scan into this diva, you know, it's just such a weird thing.
I don't think that's weird. I think it's fine. If you want to play soldier and they have diva, you're gonna have a terrible time, but like, you're free to do it. I think it's fine.
To witness happen.
Why is it everyone else's responsibility to make sure you have a good time? Right? Like, like, if you or Maul, just then you swap character, right? Go Bap and give him ammo. Go Bap and give him the ammo field. Go Kiri, give him the Suzu. Give him the Ilari pylon on his off angle. Give him the defense matrix, right? Give him the Zarya bubble, right? Go and give him all of your resources if that's what you want to do. Or just go and do what you want to do. He's doing what he wants to do. Go do what you want to do. There's two options. You either accept that he's one-tricking and he's playing the character he wants to play, which is fine, and you go and do something similar to try and win the game. You try and solo play, or you give him all of your resources. There's really no in between.
When you could have just got on the mic maybe after your second death and been like, hey, that Zen with the Discord, we have to take care of him. Like, let's dive him or something. You know? That's
a useful comm, but like, at the end of the day, it's so idealistic. You can't expect when you're queuing into these plat diamond lobbies let alone for people to even understand what the fuck is going on, but to also work together. You can't even get a coordinated dive in a fucking top 100 lobby. You are not getting a coordinated dive in diamond if people that scrim 8 hours a day can't even do it in fucking ranked. It's just not happening.
But that just rarely ever seems to happen. Like, I think
yeah, because it's very difficult. And it's not worth your time 90% of the time. Basically, name me a single scenario in Diamond where a coordinated dive was successful. It's basically never.
I can count on one hand how many times that's happened to me.
Yeah, because it's pointless. It's too hard to incentivize people to do it.
Where my teammates are like communicating effectively instead of just playing the blame game after the first half and being toxic. Some plays do require coordination, and I'm not gonna say that everyone on the team has to be talking all the time. It doesn't always have to be like that. You can use the ping system and get somewhere.
That's true. You can't use the ping system. I agree with that, even though it sucks.
But I find myself in those games where everyone gets on voice chat at the last minute and just has a screaming fest. You're just not gonna climb like that.
Oh, I completely disagree. I completely disagree. I mean, you're not gonna climb because of it, but like, it's still funny. Like, I don't have a problem with it. I don't even really do it. I haven't done it in a very long time, but I still think it's funny. Like, when it happens to me, I think it's funny. And to be fair, the people who do it are likely just more passionate. I don't think that is a good excuse for them flaming people, but it's the reason why.
Next, I want to talk about levers. Having a lever in your game.
Oh, dude, this is so common in high rank. It's crazy. Like, if you just queue up and Derpy's on an alt account, there's like a 65% chance that he just insta leaves the game. Like, if you queue up and Derpy is on your team on like a random fucking shitter account, and you walk out of spawn and they're on a reset, he just /log out and you don't have a tank for the rest of the game. It just is what it is. It sucks. I agree it sucks, but that's just the game we play. That is just gonna happen sometimes.
Game is really the worst thing ever, because especially after the timer.
Dude, that is, I will agree. Out of everything that she's brought up so far, we will agree quitting is the worst. I get why people do it, and I sometimes have done it myself a lot, but I do agree. Now, that makes me a hypocrite, but like, I'm a human being, you know. I agree. Quitting is pretty bad. I would say there's very, very rarely an excuse to do that. Unless like something important happens in the real world, then you know you gotta go.
Out and you know that person isn't coming back, and I get maybe you have shitty internet or something, but I don't think the entire team has to be punished just because one person is running off of McDonald's Wi-Fi.
I do, because if you add incentives for people to not, or if you add things into the game that make it so people are not punished when their team has a lever, they will make it so that they will bully a player out of the lobby every time so that their team qualifies for the lever penalty or whatever it may be, so that they don't lose SR, or they only lose half SR because they bullied that guy out of the lobby to leave the game, right? Or one of them's going to leave so people don't lose SR. It's going to be abused. You can't do it. If your team loses, you have to lose the full SR. You can't get special treatment because you got a lever. It would break the rank system.
I feel like if there's a lever, the game should end. And okay, yes, if you're gonna give the enemy team SR, whatever, but
you only have to wait like a minute and a half and then you can leave. It's like a minute and a half, 2 minutes or something, and then you can leave. It's really not that bad.
You should not take away someone else's progress just.
You absolutely should, for the reason I just explained. It would be abused immediately. Imagine I queue up. It's a top 500 lobby. The enemy team has, I don't know, 3 OWCS players and 2 ex-Overwatch League players, and I have 2 Masters players and like 2 well-known top 500 players. Those top 500 players don't give a fuck. So they're just going to go, hey guys, I don't really want to play in this. We're going to get rolled. Who wants to take the leave? And then I'll go, you know what, fuck it, I'll do it. I have another account. And then I'm going to wait a minute into the game. I'm going to leave the game and lose 50 SR that I don't give a fuck about. And then everyone on my team is not going to lose any SR. But the enemy team will gain SR. It's going to cause massive amounts of rank inflation. It's going to be massively abused. It's going to absolutely break the rank system even more than it's already broken. So this is not a viable option.
Because they were a man down. I don't think that's fair.
It is
I know
fair.
why they
it's
do
necessary.
it maybe to like avoid boosting with levers, but
yes,
there has to be some type of way to work around that for the people
there
that
cannot
are on
be.
the team.
It will be
with the
abused.
lever. And then waiting for that penalty, not enough time at all. Like if someone, I'm not talking about people that disconnect because of Wi-Fi issues. I'm talking about people that literally press escape and leave the game because something wasn't going their way. There should be harsher penalties. 15 minutes is just not enough for somebody that was whining and being a baby in someone else's comp game, especially.
I think 15 minutes is fine. I think that's completely fine.
When everyone else loses SR because of that. And 9 times out of 10, that just...
Because at the end of it, it doesn't matter. You're going to jump... If you're leaving the game, it's because you're jumping on another account anyway. Like, you're not leaving the game to queue up immediately afterwards. And if you are, well, then you're getting on another account anyway. So it doesn't matter.
Ties back to what I said about Smurfs. Smurfs do that. They don't care if they get a penalty or if the account gets banned. There has to be...
Yeah, of course. Why would they?
A better way to, like, I don't know, fix this. Another thing that I've noticed a lot too are people that camp ranks. And I used to
Yeah, this is a big issue in Grandmaster. The amount of absolute dog shit in GM is crazy.
play Overwatch 1 a lot, and before they had a system
Rank
where
decay,
you
yes,
would
you
get
would decay
like
to
rank
3k.
decay after a certain amount
Yeah,
of time.
yeah.
And people
It was, depending on your rank, I think if you were a diamond, it was a week. If you were masters, it was like 4 days or 5 days, and GM was like 2 days. You had to play a game to not get rank decay. It was something like that. And yeah, you would decay down to 3000 SR. And it was fucking Smurf heaven, because all the Smurfs would get 4.2 and would just swap account.
load in and play maybe like 6 games a season, and then they get on like the 5 different Smurfs that they have, and
Yeah, because, right, for example, like, look at this. That's my account in Season 11. I hit rank 1 all rolls. Here's the same account in Season 12. It's GM1. It eventually ranked up to Champ 4 tank, Champ 5 DPS, and then I don't even know what the fuck the support rank was. It doesn't matter, right? But, like, the point is, the reason I don't play on this account is because of the reasons I gave earlier. The Q times are dog shit, the meta is always terrible, the volatility doesn't allow for good play because there's just constant losses at the spawn door if you queue in with bad players. No one is taking it seriously, no one comms, no one wants to play, no one wants to synergize, no one wants to do any of that. There's no comms because the SR system is gone, the leaderboard is broken, so there's no incentive to grind for it. There's no reason to queue in a high rank, so why would I do it? Give me one reason, genuinely, one good reason I should queue into a champ game. A single reason. And then I'll start doing it. But right now, there's no reason to do it. There's nothing. Even if I was brand new to the game and just managed to get to top 500 for the first time, as soon as you're top 500, you're done. You've done everything there is to do. What else are you going to do? Grind to champ 1? You're just going to sit and endlessly slog through the same 40 players every day. One day, oh, I didn't get the Widow player this time, I lose. Oh, I got the Widow player, I won. Oh, I didn't get the Widow player, I lost. And it's just boring slog through fucking mud all day. It's awful. Genuinely. If someone gave me a good reason to queue on my main account, I would do it. But so far, no one has done so. Because there is no good reason.
just play on Smurf accounts. I also feel like that's not fair.
To be fair, I do play on the account enough to maintain winning at that level. If I ever start dipping below like a 60% win rate, no, that's unfair. If I ever dip below like 55 to 50%, then I will like grind and grind and grind until I'm starting to win more than I lose, just to kind of prove to myself that I'm still capable of that rank. And then once I'm done that, I'm just fucking gone. I just get off the account.
Because it's not showing that you can keep that rank consistently. You're
That's true to a degree, but I do make sure that I am able to maintain the rank by queuing on the account.
just playing 5 games out of an entire season.
To be fair, like, think about it though, those 5 games took, well, like, how long to queue? So just the queue time for those games alone is what, like 4 hours almost? 4 hours for 5 games? Almost, because it's like 40 minutes a game. Yeah, man, I want to play 5 games and spend 4 hours queuing up to play those 5 games that will almost certainly be terrible. What a great idea.
Season and somehow still sitting in that rank. I think they should bring back rank decay. I know it's kind of like
It will create a shitload of smurfing. I personally don't mind it because I smurf a lot, but I promise you it will make the smurfing issue a million times worse. A million times worse. Because all of the players that are like, oh, I haven't played on this account in 2 months are going to get on and they're going to be 3k. They're going to have D-rank from GM2 to 3k SR. Diamond 5. And they're going to body slam those players. And as soon as they get to like Masters, they're going to go, fuck it, I'm going on a different account. And then that account's going straight back down to Diamond. It's like it D-ranks them for them. They got rid of it because of the fact that people were abusing it to smurf. I don't think you do want this to come back. It will break the game again.
controversial, but I'm not sure what the system was like in Overwatch 1. I think it was like after a week or something. But
Depended
most
on your
people
rank.
I know that are sitting in like high elo ranks, they play a lot. So the very few people that are just sitting there just rank camping, it's just kind of weird, you know? Finally, I want to talk about the solo queue experience. It can be a nightmare.
I've solo queued this game for over 10,000 hours. I know what it's like.
Just a constant push push and pull of win and losses. And it would be great if maybe they implemented something for people that primarily solo queue. If they implemented something similar to Valorant, where there was some type of MVP role. Now, I'm not sure how that would work, but I feel like it should
That would. I don't understand how that would work either. How would you determine it? Through stats? Well, then you would just go stat farming heroes and shoot the tank all game.
be one, like just one MVP out of the entire. Like it shouldn't.
I don't know how you would decide who is MVP in an Overwatch game. I don't know how they'd create an algorithm to decide that.
Be one MVP for each role. It should just be one MVP. And I'm not exactly sure how they would do that as far as stats and stuff go. But maybe that person that really was trying can lose 10 to 15% reduction instead of losing the full 20 to 30%.
I would be okay with this if there was a way to make it foolproof. If it was remotely abusable, I don't like it. Also, I think that's derpy on the enemy team playing Widow. I actually think that's derpy, which is funny.
Off of a loss. But I guess I'm only thinking about the MVP role as a solo queuer because sometimes I get put with a 4-stack that's going against another 4-stack, and maybe the enemy team, their 4-stack's in team chat. They're actually calming. They're actually trying. My 4-stack is just blaming me because I'm the only person that's not in the stack. And
how do you know the enemy team is calming? How do you know that? There's no way for you to know that. You're like, you're trying to push a narrative that the enemy team is always calming and always working well together, and your team's flaming, which is not true. If you're not flaming, the enemy team is infinitely more likely to be flaming than your team is, because you're one less person to start the flaming.
Refuses to come to team chat. There's no communication for the entire.
It's the same in every rank in the game. I agree with this. I'd love if people calmed, but they just don't do it. There's no incentive to do so anymore. There's no player agency in the game. You're not rewarded for teamwork in the game anymore. There's no solo carry potential anymore. There's no point in synergizing or comboing anymore. It's all pointless. The entire game is just, it's a pure counter swap game. It's boring as shit. That's why it's that way. No one calms for a reason. Let's do Grav Dragon. The emote. Well, I guess that was fucking pointless. Okay, let's do Nano Blade. Well, they life gripped, or they scissored, or they emote, or they did one of the other 800 mobility cooldowns that I can't chase. Well, unlucky. What the fuck is the point of the combo? It's pointless. It doesn't do anything anymore. There's no carry potential, like I said. There's no solo player agency, like I said. There's no coordinate. There's no purpose in coordinating or synergizing or comboing. It's all pointless. There's too much survivability dog shit in the game. There's too much mobility in the game. There's not enough actual solo potential in the game. It's terrible. And until they add more stuff that incentivizes people to work together, to actually try, to calm, to actually grind for the leaderboard, to play comp seriously, and for there to be some solo carry potential, and for it to reward teamwork and synergizing and comboing, there will never be a world in where Overwatch is a competitive game ever again until all of that is back. And it's never going to come back because of the reason that, because the way they design heroes and they design the game. The design philosophy is dog shit. Why do you think they make heroes like Mauga, and heroes like Orisa, and heroes like Lifeweaver? It's because they don't give a shit about people carrying the game if they are good enough. They want to get rid of the fact that people are getting steamrolled in 5v5, so they try to remedy it with broken support so they can slow down the pace of the game, but all it does is break the game further. The game is fucking broken, it is what it is, and until they fix it, it's always going to be that way.
Entire game, and I just, maybe like the force, I've run into a 4-stack before that was all 4 players were just one trinket character, so we just walked out the gate with the same comp every single time, and we just
also think that's fine.
Got steamrolled. Of course I get blamed. I'm the only person that's a random, but I feel like an MVP role can definitely help in situations like that where maybe one person out of the entire team just gets like a 10 to 15% reduction. It's not a bad thing to add.
That was an interesting video. Don't watch that. Don't watch this. This is okay, that was definitely intriguing.